guy, Captain Dave Hansen. We're back. We're back home. And I want to thank you all for just a phenomenal week. My gosh, I can't even thank you all enough. The amount of love that Kelly Girl and I felt at the PCS show, the amount of people that came up to us and wanted to get a picture taken and wanted to say hi and wanted to just tell us how fun it is to watch us and listen to us. It was mind-bending, gang. Kelly Girl still can't talk. Her voice is gone. She must have talked to 2,000 people, at least, maybe more. The show was so well attended, the most well attended trade show that we've ever been at. And the line to just talk to Kelly and I was overwhelming. And then you guys booked a bunch of trips with Justin and a bunch of trips with Pablo. I cannot thank you all enough. If it wasn't for all of you, that show wouldn't even happen. Without attendees, there is no trade show. So I want you all to give yourself a pat on the back. You guys made it what it was. It was incredible. And then my buddies that helped me out tremendously, Pablo and Justin and Ryland and Isaiah and Kelly Girl, helping set up the show, helping take down the booth, helping put everything away, gang. There is a ton of stuff that goes into putting on a show like that. Dave over at Deckhand Sports, thank you so much for all the support. Promar, thank you so much for all the support. AFCO, thank you. Akuma, I can't thank everybody enough. Al, welcome to the party, man. Welcome. I'm so happy to have you as a part of our guide service and charter boat business down there in San Diego. Al Clowers came on board. He joined us on stage on Saturday. We did it really, we really appreciate everybody. I was blown away by the attendance of all of our seminars, and just all the people that came up to Kelly Girl and I and just thanked us for what we do. And I'm just doing what I love to do. I'm just talking to you guys. I'm just sharing what I love, which is fishing. And all of you that are members of Your Saltwater Guide, thank you so much for all the great content you add to the website every day. Without you guys adding all that great content on the community and showing your love on there, none of this would happen. And today's show is dedicated to thanking you guys all for attending the show. I truly was humbled by all the people and all the love and so many children. And I got to put so many smiles on so many children's faces because of Donna over at Dana War Sportfishing, my sister, donating 100 shirts, and Promar and Akuma donating 100 hats. Not one child came and met us and talked to us that didn't get free stuff. And that's because of all of the sponsors. Deckhand Sports, thank you. Everyone that went to his booth got free stuff if they wore my shirt. Over at Promar, and you went up and you talked to Brian, you got free stuff because you wore our clothes. I'm leaving out people, and I apologize for that. I cannot thank you all enough. And then to top all of that off, the friendship that I have with the gentleman that I'm going to be bringing on the show today, it goes back a long ways. And to have him come up to me and tell me what a phenomenal job I'm doing brings a tear to my eye, because I've respected this man for a very long time, and he's been very influential in our industry, and he's helped out a ton of us in the industry. And he's always been there through all the giant trade shows that we've done. And I go to ICAST, I see him there. I see him whenever there's an event, a CCA event or anything that has to do with taking children fishing. There he is, giving back. Him and his buddy Tim Baker. These are two men that give back like none of you can even comprehend. The give back is incredible. The time that they give back to the children. And when I asked him on Sunday if he would please join me on my show so we can get the word out, so we can try to keep fishing open and take more children fishing, he said he would make time on Tuesday to be with us. So I am super duper excited to bring this guy on, and I want you to listen. I want you to kick back and pay attention to what Mike's doing, because the amount of children that Tim Baker and Mike have put together because of Rollo's Kids at Sea program, it'll blow your minds when you hear all the great things that he's got going on. So I can't thank you all enough. I keep thanking you and thanking you and thanking you. And I see plenty of you over here on the side. And Don Stanley, thanks for hanging out with us. And I appreciate everybody. Let's bring in Mike Lum right now. I want you to meet him. He's a phenomenal human being, and he's been a huge part of the sport fishing industry for a very, very long time. Mike, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks, Dave. That was quite the introduction. I'm not sure it's, I'm not sure I'm worthy of all that, but thanks for having us on. I appreciate it.
Well, in my life, you're a very important person to me. So I just want everyone out there to understand. So Mike Lum, you've been in this industry, since you were 8 or 9 years old? Talk about how you got started in this whole industry, because I think people out there need to understand this.
I have always been in the fishing and boating and hunting industry, Dave, from the time I was in high school and got on a work program where I could go out and work half the day and get school credit for it. I did that. I went to night school so I could graduate early because I wanted to do more work. And it seems kind of silly thinking back on it that you're trying to rush through your life. But I got started at 16 years old in this industry, and I've never worked a day outside of it in all of these years, and I'm very happy for that. No regrets whatsoever. So I've done a lot of things, and I've worked for a lot of companies, but all pretty much based right here in Southern California. I was involved with the American Sportfishing Association for a number of years, and they're based out of Alexandria, Virginia. They are the trade association that looks after and protects our interests back in Washington, D.C., and they do a lot of very good work. They're also the people that put on the ICAST show every year, and that's a trade-only show. Most of the people listening here probably haven't had a chance to go to it, but you've probably heard about it, and it's a phenomenal show, and it's where all the buyers and the dealers and whatnot go to see what's new for the following year, and kind of starts the year off every year. That always occurs in July, and it's in Orlando, Florida, is where they hold that. So I'm still, even though I now work for a manufacturer's rep agency here in the West Coast, Morton and Associates, and I represent quite a few popular lines of product. I still make it a point to get back to ICAST. I still help them produce the new product showcase each year at that event. And then, of course, I'm as actively involved with Friends of Rollo as I can be, and I still get involved and still serve on the board of directors for the CCA California as well. So in my spare time, I think about going fishing.
You do so much for the industry. An hour is not enough time to talk about all the great things you do, but I want to we're going to get deep into the Rollo's Kids at Sea program, but first and foremost, CCA California is such an important part of this because the state of California is on a mission to stop fishing. And gang, the only reason all of you are watching this show, the only reason all of you came to the PCS show, the only reason you listen to Dave and you watch his videos is because somebody out of the kindness of their heart took you all fishing at one time in your life. You wouldn't have never gone by yourself because that's just not what we do. Somebody took you and introduced you to fishing. I cannot imagine living in a world where we can't do that. Can you talk about CCA for a few minutes, Mike? Because you're better at explaining things than I am. I get a little excited.
Well, my view on CCA is just that at times I feel like we have a lot of fishermen here in California. We have 1.5 million license holders in the state, and I know the effort and work that goes into protecting our ability to get out on the ocean and go fishing. And I know it is not something that you do once a year with a membership payment. It's something that happens all day in and day out. And I'm not saying that all the anglers necessarily have to follow it on a day-by-day basis, but I think they need to recognize that the need for an association that is strong and well-funded is the key to us having a future in sport fishing here in California. It's as simple as that. And I feel sometimes like people take that side of the industry for granted. I see that also on the national level when the American Sportfishing Association, that is vital to the well-being of sport fishing nationally, vital. It's not like it helps a little. It is the difference between having an industry and being able to go fishing and not. It's that important. And yet I see people in the industry that don't support the effort. They just assume someone else is going to pay the bill. Somebody else is going to, they just out of sight, out of mind. And I realize that on the consumer level, on the fisherman level here in California, we fish because it is a release. It's a relief from our day to day. We work hard, we have our families, we have all these obligations and responsibilities and things that we do. And then when we get that time to get out on the water and go fishing, the last thing we want to do is be talking about all the problems and all the things that are associated with sport fishing. And I understand that. And that's why I'm so passionate about CCA having a program that allows people to help fund the work that has to be done. If we don't fund it, the work won't be done. And at that point, we are going to simply continue to lose ability to go fishing. So I realize some of your followers, Dave, and some of the people that I talk to all the time in the industry, they're well off enough, they're mature enough. If they want to write $1,000 check and be a life member, if they want to write a $10,000 check once in a while to help us on a project, that is what keeps us going. But for everyone else, where we're saying we want $40 a year from you, we want you to attend an event or two and help us. If we could just have, this is silly, if we could just have 5% of the 1.5 million anglers that buy a license in this state support CCA, and it could be as simple as a $10 a month recurring payment. You can go on to the CCA website right now, and I'm not exaggerating, within 60 seconds, you could sign up to make a $10 monthly contribution, a $20 monthly contribution, whatever you're comfortable with. And that will start coming out of your credit card or your debit once a month. I'm sure no one is going to have to alter their lifestyle because of that donation. But if literally 5% of the fishing public, that's all, 5% would do that, it would be enough money annually. We could hire additional staff. We could do more work. We could put on more chapters. We could do more fundraising. And at the end of the day, we would have a war chest that we could then be quite powerful when it came to what goes on at state level. But that's the part that I get frustrated with, because I say it repeatedly, and yet I don't see the needle move. And I understand there's a lot of people that just think that there's enough of other people to take care of it, I'm not going to worry about it. But I mean, seriously, when it costs $12 to $15 now to go to a fast food place for lunch, I don't think 10 or 20 bucks a month is going to impact your life. But I am going to tell you for sure, it will move the needle and make a difference with how much good CCA can do. And they do a ton right now. We just recently kicked off this star tournament. That's another great way. It costs $40 a year, and yet you're going to have opportunities to win great prizes. You're going to have great camaraderie with your friends. You're going to have wonderful bragging rights. They're giving away an 18-foot Parker boat. It's $40 a year. Come on. Everybody should join. Everybody should take part in that. It's all about fundraising. And CCA, I think, does a wonderful job creating fundraisers that are fun. There's something that you should look forward to attending. Like, as soon as you're leaving one, you should say, what are the dates for this next year? Kind of like the enthusiasm we saw on Sunday at PCS, right? We all left PCS going, what's next year's dates? Because we're already thinking about next year. And that's how the CCA fundraiser should be. And that's how the Star Tournament should be. And if we started doing that, and if everyone would give that $10 to $20 or more a month, I assure you it will make a huge difference, and we'll have an organization that will look after us for years and years to come. But I'm telling you, if we don't do it, no one's doing it for us. And the other side of the equation, the guys that want us off the water, they have no problem with funding. It's almost unlimited to them. And we have to be hardworking, and we have to be smart with what we do with that. And that's how we build the team, and that's how we fight off the opposition. That's the only thing we've got. If not, we're going to lose. It's just a matter of how long.
Yeah, their war chest is bigger than our war chest. That's a known fact, gang. And if you're like, well, these guys are begging for, yeah, we're at the point now where we're begging because we need you all to get involved. We saw the intent. Could you imagine if just Saturday, every single person that attended that show gave us $1, we would have had $100,000 that day. It's that easy, gang. It's crazy. We're not asking you to mortgage your house. We're telling you, I don't want to live in a world where I can't take my granddaughter or my grandson fishing, and that's where we're headed right now. And it's not just California; it's the whole United States of America. And I'm going to stay out of that. I told you I'd stay out of that, but it's about who you vote for, gang, whether you want to believe it or not. There's one side that's totally against us, and there's one side that's totally for us. You can figure that out. I'm not going to say the name. You can figure it out on your own, gang. But it is what it is, and we need you to help us. Mike needs you to help us. I need you to help us. We want to keep fishing open. So, Mike, how do we get involved? Just give them, because there's a lot of people driving in their cars. How do they get involved with CCA? How do they get involved with the Star Tournament? And gang, you can catch a calico bass and win this Star Tournament. They have it at every level. You don't have to go out and catch a 300-pound bluefin to win that boat. You don't have to. Any kind of fish is going to be. That's why everybody that came to the show were like, $40 to get in a tournament where I can win a boat. Are you kidding me? It cost me more than that to drive here.
Exactly right, Dave. They have created a wonderful tool to make it fun and enjoyable and no burden to help solve and to solve this issue that we have. And our issue is lack of funding. That's it. We're always talking about it. Lack of funding, lack of funding. We just don't have the deep pockets that we need to equal the opposition. And but that alone, so we don't need as much money as they have because we're on the right side of this. We are the ones that are on the water. We know what's going on out there. We're not making up rules and we've never been on the water or never seen the ocean. We are on the right side of this issue, but we still need funding to hire the people to get the job done because that's how the game works. And it's not a matter of being right. It's a matter of winning. And we need to win. And we do it with our wallets. That's how we make it happen. And CCA California .org, I believe, is the website. CCA California will get you to their website, and the Star Tournament's right on the front of it. It's real easy to sign up for that. Membership is right there on the front of it. And if you'll look into the donate button, you'll see the recurring payment. And believe me, I'm a huge fan of the recurring payment. I don't care if you're a life member already. I don't care if you're an annual member all the time. I want to see everybody get on that recurring payment, and you can stop it at any time. You won't. I know you won't, because once you get used to seeing that $10 or $20 debit once a month, you don't think about it anymore. I personally have been on it since we started it a few years ago, and I never give it a thought. But you know what? At the end of the year, it adds up to a much bigger amount than most people would be comfortable or willing or able to just write a check or whatever for. It's in very manageable amounts, and you determine the amount. It doesn't matter really. Just get involved and do something. And if at some point you don't feel like you're getting your money's worth, as quickly as you signed up, you're unsigned, and that's it. It is really a great way to go.
Yeah, I'm sorry, gang. It's the only voice we have at the table. To go to CaliforniaCCA.org and sign up today, and you're going to make a difference. You might not like to fish. You might like to watch this because, like one my good friend Anthony Shea said, watching Dave Hansen's like watching a NASCAR race. You don't want to miss the crash when it happens. And there's a lot of you out there doing that. But listen, your grandchild or your niece or your nephew or somebody you know might want to go fishing one day. Can you imagine living in a world where we can't do that? I can't. It scares the living Jesus out of me. That's why every time I bring a guest on, we talk about CCA because it's so important. And then Mike, not just money, but time. Tim Baker and Mike, and there's so many other people, Pete Gray and Chris and Wayne and Tony. And there's just so many people that just give and give and give because they understand we don't want to lose fishing. So pay attention. Go check out ccacalifornia.org and check it out. see what it's all about. Don't listen to me or Mike. You go read it a little bit and see what it's all about. Real quick, though, something that was amazing, Mike, the Promar company, they make this net, and we also make this live deception lure. We talked about it on our show right before we went to the show. They sold out of this live deception lure at Turner's on day one. Unfortunately, they didn't have any more of the 4 ounce because they saw it on our show. They sold out of them. The other thing they sold out of, watch this video. I don't even know if you've seen this video, but watch this video. It's pretty amazing. I think this is it. Let's see. Saying this new net that Promar made, you throw it down below the squid that won't float, and you pull it right through the middle of that squid, and look at, there you go. Got enough squid to fish with for the day. That's all I would need for a good day of sea bass fishing or yellowtail fishing. You throw that thing in the water 4 or 5 more times, your bait tank's full.
That's awesome.
They sold out of that net. They sold out of it. So many people came over to me going, Dave, how do I get one? I told you to be there on Thursday, gang. They sold out. I mean, it's a good thing. But look at Steve and Ben wanted me to let you know. They apologized. They didn't stock. Well, they tried to stock the company, but they didn't listen to them. The power of your saltwater guide is amazing. Everyone's starting to learn. Grab that QR code right there. And those of you that are driving in your car, go to promarahi.com and put in the code YSWG and the number 22, and you're going to save 10%. You can order the live deception 4 ounce. Steve and Ben have plenty of them in the warehouse. They'll ship it right to you. And that mesh net that you just saw, you can get that on the website also. Just grab the QR code or put in the code YSWG and the number 22 on promarahi.com, and you can get all that great equipment that you guys didn't get to the show in time to buy. I don't make it up, gang. There's plenty of people making comments right now that they were bummed out that they didn't get the product. But the industry's starting to understand, Mike Lum, that people are actually, I know 10 years ago, it was a different Dave Hansen. Now, all of a sudden, people are actually paying attention and listening to me, and we're changing this whole thing, and it's pretty fun, and I'm having a blast. I am really having a good time. But my good friend Rollo Hines passed away 24 years ago, and you, Frank Lopresti, Pete Gray, Tim Baker, you guys started to put together a program that we need to talk about, because this is an incredible program. Just to start off with, gang, I want you to listen to this number. How many children, since you started this, have you taken fishing?
In excess of 150,000 kids that have been on their first ocean fishing trip directly because of this program.
Can you imagine?
That's a lot of people. And we've been doing it now for 24 years. And so we now have people that were 10, 12 years old when this started that went on their first ocean fishing trip that have actually joined the industry. They run boats, they work within the industry, or they've just become lifelong anglers as a result of seeing and experiencing the ocean for the very first time. The group of people that started Friends of Rollo were some of his closest friends back in 1999. And I think the group was thrown together fairly quickly just to do something to honor this man's life and to keep his memory alive. I don't think anybody in that original group would have understood or believed that 24 years later we would have achieved the numbers that we have and still going very, very strong. A few years back, when I got actively involved, I was at one of the board meetings and I said, I've been doing enough events now for Friends of Rollo that I would really like to see us consider doing a name change. I thought Frank was going to have a heart attack. It was like, a name change? What is wrong with you? And I said, I'm telling you, Frank, the generation has changed. I go to so many events now and I spend more time explaining what Friends of Rollo is than I do raising money for the kids. And so after quite a bit of discussion and working on it, the idea came up that Friends of Rollo is the name of the nonprofit organization and should remain that forever. And I believe it will. However, we started marketing the kids' trips under the name Captain Rollo's Kids at Sea. which I felt very good about because it keeps Rollo's name right in the forefront of the organization. And yet it has eliminated about 80% of the questions because they look at it and they say, Captain Rollo, Kids at Sea, if you knew nothing about us, you would know or have a pretty good idea what we do. And Captain Rollo, they may not know what that is. We answer that question on a regular basis, but it has really helped us to market under the name Captain Rollo Kids at Sea. We use both interchangeably. If someone wants to make a donation, they can make their check out to either, and that's absolutely fine. And some people still call us Friends of Rollo. Doesn't matter to me. It really doesn't. Our website is rollokids.org. And you can find that, and you can get information on all kinds of things. Now, Dave, back in 1999, when this organization started, Rollo's death was fresh in everybody's mind, and these were his buddies, and these were people that were close to him, and they were given money, and we raised money real quickly, and then we started chartering boats to take kids on their first trip, and everything just kind of happened very quickly and fairly easily. 6 months, year, I'm not sure how long. The newness of that tragedy kind of wore down a little bit, and it was like, well, how are we going to raise money? We're going to sell raffle tickets. And they got the idea that they would get a boat and they would sell raffle tickets, and they would raise money by selling annual raffle tickets. Well, that worked really well for a couple of years. And then, like most things, it started to taper off. And then we went into this time period where we were relying almost exclusively on the industry to give us donations, to give us products, which we would then figure out how to convert into cash. But it's been now probably about the last 12, 14 years that we introduced things like the spin to one wheel, which is now synonymous with Friends of Rollo when you go to an event. We've introduced programs annually like the Reel Week program. We have had the good fortune for the last 9 years of having Tuna Wars. And Tuna Wars is only made possible because of the support from the Wicked Tuna television show captains who come out on their own time to help us raise money for this program. And it all started back actually 10 years ago with Paul Hebert, Captain Paul Hebert. He was out and someone he wanted to help us. How can I help you? And it was like, well, you could come back out in the summer and go fishing. And he just like, well, how's that going to help you? And it says, because we're going to charge people a premium to get on a boat and fish with you. Would they do that? Yeah, I'm pretty sure they would do that. And so that was a huge success. And Paul got off that boat and he said, next year we're going to have another captain come out and we're going to have a competition. And so that became Tuna Wars. And we are now, this year will be Tuna Wars 9. Captain Dave Marciano is going to lead one of the teams, which he has for many years. Captain Bob Cook is coming out for his second year. He will captain one of the teams. And then Dave's wife, Nancy, who last year we added the third boat, and she said, well, she would run the team, and she did. And that was so much fun having her compete against Dave that we're doing that again this year. So coming up in June, we've got Tuna Wars 9. It's going to be 3 boats running out of San Diego. The Ocean Odyssey, the Liberty, and the Tomahawk are the boats that are part of this. And the public is available. I mean, the public can come. All they have to do is go and contact us through the rollokids.org website and just say, I want to get on Tuna Wars. And we've still got openings on at least 2 of the boats. And you can get on and you can fish with these wicked tuna captains. But more importantly, you're going to be doing a tremendous service to the kids that benefit from this program. The night before the boats leave, and the boats this year I think are leaving on June the 25th. The night before at Mission Bay at Dana Landing, we have the captain's reception. That's open to the public. It's free. All you have to do is come down, show up about 4 o'clock, and we have just a giant raffle. We have a live auction. We've got a lot of industry participants there. If you want to come down and just have an opportunity to rub elbows with some of the industry guys and crack jokes and listen, it's all outdoors. It's a beautiful setting. and it has turned into a very, very big event. We have food and drink there. If you want to access that, we ask you to buy a wristband. I think we charge $25, and that allows you to sample the food that's there and get drinks and whatnot. But if you just want to come out and take some pictures, get an autograph from some of the Wicked Tuna guys, it's all free. That has become a very big part of our annual fundraising as well. So that happens on a Sunday night in I believe this year, I wrote it down here, June the 23rd is the captain's reception. And like I say, you don't buy tickets, you don't have to reserve anything. You just come down, hang out, and you'll have a ball. Then the next day we leave on the fishing trip, which leaves on Monday evening, and then on Wednesday the boats return, and the winning team. By the way, there's pretty big prize for the winning team. There's a lot at stake, because the winning team gets an embroidered jacket that says they were the champions, and that's what they get. And so all of this money and all this time, all the proceeds go to taking more kids fishing. And that was the goal of Tuna Wars when it started, and that's still the goal. Raise as much as we can to take kids fishing.
And you know what? I got to go to that first dinner that you had before I moved down here to Cabo. And let me tell you something, gang. Dave Marciano and Paul were part of it back then. These two gentlemen do nothing but give back. You come to the party, you're going to meet Bob, you're going to meet Nancy, you're going to meet Dave. They're going to take time to talk to each and every person. It's amazing how much give back they're doing. They're donating all their time and effort because they understand how important it is. Like we talked about in the beginning of the show, we got to take children fishing. It's super important. You have a really spectacular story about taking the inner city kids in just Los Angeles, which is 20 minutes from the ocean. If you hit every light, it's 24 minutes from the ocean. Talk about that, kids. You won't even believe this. When I heard this story, I about fell out of my chair.
Let me give just a real brief explanation how this whole thing works, because we're always asking people to give us money, but we never take the time to explain exactly how this works. The Captain Rollo Kids at Sea program is as simple as this. Anyone that has access to a group of kids, 30, 35, 40 kids, it could be a Boy Scout troop, it could be a school, it could be a school for troubled kids, it could be anything. All they do is go on our website and they fill out this very short form and they say, I'd like to take these kids fishing. Howard Coolidge, who handles all of our trip bookings, contact that person. They work out a time that makes sense for everybody. We make sure that they've got enough kids. It's about 30 is minimum, 35 to 40 is even better. And then once that's agreed upon, we charter the boat. We pay for the lunches, we pay for the tackle, we pay for the boat, we pay for everything. All that group has to do is get to and from the landing that we mutually decide makes sense for them. We pay for everything. In the course of a year, we will charter somewhere between 65 and 100 boats. Now, 2019 was the last year that we exceeded 100, the year before COVID. And due to rising costs, rapidly rising costs, we're struggling right now to maintain the numbers. We have enough people that want the trip, but we just are struggling to get the numbers up to keep going at the rate we're going. But even if we are down on the low side of 60, 65 trips, think about that. We're chartering 65 sport fishing boats a year or more based on these donations. So what you asked me about, Dave, was we take kids from all walks of life. We put a priority on the inner city kids, the kids that otherwise will never be on a boat. We will take kids from everywhere. But when we get down to the end of our budget for the year and we got a choice of taking a kid from a pretty affluent neighborhood or a group from inner city, there is no doubt who's going. We have to spend our money that way. And so it's quite regular. And the group I was telling you about actually is out of Englewood, and they get on the boat and they've never seen the ocean. Now, other people have heard us talk about that for years. I think they think we're exaggerating. I am not. It happens all the time. People that live in Long Beach, and they live in the city of Long Beach, and they've never laid eyes on the ocean. How is that possible? But it happens. And to say they've set foot on a boat, I'm telling you, none of these kids we take have ever been on a boat. And everything is an experience for them. whether it's the crabs running around on the rocks in the harbor, or the starfish, or the barnacles. They've never seen any of that. They get on the boat. They've never felt the movement of a boat. And as the boat leaves the harbor and they see the sea lions hanging on the buoys or on the rocks, and they see all the shorebirds everywhere, everything is new to them. I think they would spend the entire half a day just playing around the bait tank. They love it. They absolutely love it. And we provide them all hot lunches. And there are some trips I've been on where the lunch meant as much to the kid as everything else. I mean, that's amazing when you say to a kid, help yourself, go up, get a cheeseburger. And it's like, I don't have any money. No, you don't have to have any money. It's all done. It's all paid for. If you want 2 cheeseburgers, have 2 cheeseburgers. Really? It's just, that is the level of kids in a lot of cases that we're working with, and that we are trying to let them get a feel for how the marine resources that we have, what we have. It's not a cartoon. It's not a movie. It's not something on YouTube. It's real, and they can smell it, and they can see it, and they can experience it, and it's memorable. They will remember it the rest of their lives. Some will be on the ocean in the future as they get older, and some will make a living doing it. I shared this story with you, Dave, and I had the good fortune here a few weeks back to go back to Washington, D.C. and testify to a subcommittee of Congress on a youth fishing program that they're trying to get enacted. This would be the Coastal Youth Fishing Bill, which I believe is H.R. 3925.
I put it up on the screen.
If this gets passed, then Congress would grant $2 million a year to coastal youth fishing programs. We would obviously then be able to apply and maybe get a little bit of that. And so I'm back in Washington, D.C., and I'm talking to the Congress people, and I'm answering their questions. And the subject came up of taking kids at an early age fishing. I said, well, I am living proof. When I was 8 years old, my dad passed away suddenly. At 10 years old, I had a great opportunity. A neighbor moved in across the street who had a couple infant kids. He loved to fish, but his kids were babies. And he took a liking to me, found out that I had an interest. This man spent the next several years taking me out ocean fishing. And he started by taking me out on the Redondo Beach barge. We had those back in those days. And taking a pilot boat out, getting off on the barge, spending a few hours out there, coming back and forth. Well, this guy's a construction worker. And after he showed me the ropes and I knew what I was doing, he said to me, I work not far from here. So in the summer, when you're off school and your mom has no way to keep tabs on you, how about I take you and drop you off at Redondo, and I'll give you the money to get on the boat to go to the barge. And you can spend the day out there fishing, and then I'll pick you up on my way home. And it was like, yeah. So he told me, if you ever miss that last boat coming in, if you aren't here in this parking lot when I come at 4:00, I'm not doing this anymore. Well, I never missed getting back to that parking lot by 4:00. But it was that time that he spent with me. And it was those days out on that barge with other people that taught me everything I needed to know to spend the rest of my life involved in the ocean and fishing. I have never worked one day in my life outside of this industry. And it was directly 100% attributed back to that man when I was 10 years old. So when I talk about putting a kid on a boat and letting him smell the ocean for the first time, I'm dead serious about it. It changes lives in a lot of cases, and it will plant memories 100% of the time.
It is so important. I talk about it on this show every single day, gang. The only reason we're here, the only reason we're listening is because somebody, just like Mike said, took us fishing when we were little. Yeah, I was blessed to have the father that I had, that there wasn't any way I wasn't going fishing. But I tell you, when I tell that story, like I did with Michael Fulks in the history of sport fishing, when you guys watch that show kick off, it starts with me sitting there in a chair, crying, literally crying, because my dad took me fishing when I was 3 years old. And it matters so much to me. And I don't want to live in that world. I don't. That's why I bring people on like Mike. I want you to understand. I get a little vocal, I get a little excited sometimes, but I'm about as real as it gets. And my heart is about as big as it could possibly be, gang, because I do not want to live in the world where we can't take children fishing. And I don't want to live in the world where Mike can't run Rollo's kids at sea and can't take the children fishing that need to go fishing. Over 50, what did you say, 150,000 children? That's
over 150,000.
That's a ridiculous number, gang, but none of this. We're going to go back to what we were talking with CCA. None of this happens without your heart. None of this happens without your donation. And you got to give. You got to give, gang, because we got to take kids fishing, because we got to keep this fishing thing open. And you think about the children in the inner city that have never seen the ocean. You bring one of those kids, let's say you take 35 or 40 of them out on a boat. I'll guarantee you that fishing thing saved one or two of their lives, because they're living in a really hostile situation, gang, and they're children. They don't have a choice. They're stuck there. But we can make a difference if every one of us just give a little bit. Just give a tiny bit. We're not asking you to give us a house payment. We just want a little bit so we can take those kids fishing. Because I know you all understand what's going on in the world today. When Mike started this, diesel fuel was $1 a gallon. Right now, diesel fuel is $6 a gallon, gang. We need you to help us. We need to keep the machine rolling down the highway. We don't want these numbers of kids. We don't want to be doing this show next year going, well, we were able to take 1,000 kids fishing this year because of your donation. Let's keep it going. Let's get going. Let's roll this thing out. Gang, we have the boats. No, Mike and I talked about this before. He talks to a lot of people when he travels around the United States that want to do this. They want to get involved. They want to do this where they're at. But what they don't have the sport fishing industry. They don't have 150 sport boats in Florida. They don't have 150 sport boats in Texas. They don't have 150 sport boats in New York. We are very, very unique here in Southern California. And the opportunity that brings is because of the sport boat fleet, because of the love for taking kids fishing, because of Rollo's Kids at Sea. The industry understands. And Mike, talk about that, because you're in Washington, you know, people want to do what you're doing, but they don't have the means. But we do here in California. So if you're on the East Coast, and there's plenty of people listening, you're on Texas, Florida, wherever you guys are watching from, help us. Children are children. I don't care where they live.
That's a fact. And, you know, we have kids fishing programs all over the country, and they're all very, very important, whether it's at a pond, a lake, a stream, it doesn't matter. But this specific act that Congress is trying to get this funding for is specifically for coastal youth fishing. That does include the Great Lakes in this particular bill. And $2 million, I don't know how many organizations would ultimately apply for that grant, but if we could just get a small piece of that grant annually, it would make a difference. We spend a lot of time at events trying to get people to give us $20 bills. And fortunately, we're successful at it. We had the most wonderful PCS experience the last 4 days of the show, or the 4 days of the show. And we really didn't know what to expect, because, you know, the economy is not super great. The show itself has expanded a lot. It's like, I didn't know what to think, but I'll tell you what, it only took one day, and it was like, this is going to be a big week for us. And it was hugely successful. The next thing we have coming up is Day at the Docks. And one of our primary fundraising tools is our annual raffle. And we put together 30 prizes that generally total in excess of $30,000. So you'll see this little blue ticket here, and it's got all kinds of great prizes on it. It's got long range trips. It's got a $2,000 gasoline credit from Summit Gas. It's got a trip to Katmai Lodge in Alaska. It's got adventures in camping trips. It's got H&M landing trips. It's got an El Salto trip. It goes on and on and on. And for $10, you have a chance at winning one of these 30 prizes. And so we sell these tickets. Unfortunately, being based in California, we're not allowed to sell them online. So the only way we can sell these tickets is to have people phone us or see us at an event. And the next event we do is going to be Day at the Docks, which is April the 7th. We are also going to have the drawing for all of these prizes April 7th. So if you want to buy tickets, if you haven't and you want to buy tickets and support us, you can call a phone number, and it's 951-264-7382. That's 951-264-7382. Tim Baker carries that phone with him every day. Wherever you call or wherever you are when you call, Tim Baker will either answer that phone or he will call you back, and he will get the information to sell you these tickets. That is the best way to do that. And if you're driving, if you can't write that down, remember, RelloKids.org is the website. All of this information is there. You can also see this list of prizes, and we will be giving them all away on April 7th at Day at the Docks. That's also the day that we do our used tackle sale. One more way that we fund all these trips. And all year long, we collect used fishing tackle. And we will pick it up if we need to, but there's drop-off places. Dana Landing is a drop-off place. Dana Wharf Sport Fishing is a drop-off place. Fisherman's Landing is a drop-off place. And the Turners in Corona only is a drop-off place. Other than that, you can call that same number that you're going to call for tickets. You're going to talk to Tim at some point and tell him, I've got a donation of tackle, and he'll work out the details how we can get it. We do that all year long so that on April 7th, the Day at the Docks, we can have a giant used tackle sale. And the last 4 years that we've done this, it has been incredible. The amount of tackle we've moved, the amount of money that we make to take more kids fishing. It's now used to be something a little extra. Now it is a major part of our fundraising. So if you have tackle to donate, please do that. All your donations are tax deductible. This is a 501c3 corporation. So you donate the tackle, we'll give you the receipt for your tax deduction. We're going to take that tackle and turn it into money so we can then take more kids fishing. And honestly, when you're going to make your donation to us, if you've got something that's a little unusual, we've had people donate boats. We've had people donate kayaks. We've had people donate all kinds of stuff. So call Tim and say, is this something you guys can deal with? Something you can handle? Because we are interested in things that we can turn into money. We're not collecting this stuff. We want to make the money so we can take more kids fishing. All of these different things, whether it's our annual raffle, whether it is donating tackle, whether it's Reel a Week, which is a promotion we'll be kicking off here in May. Reel a Week is you buy a raffle ticket for $25, and for 26 consecutive weeks, we give away reels that they average about $450 a piece. These aren't entry-level reels. These are really high-quality reels. We give away 26 of them over 26 weekly drawings. You buy one ticket and you're in all those drawings until you win. So there's other fundraisers. There's the Tuna Wars reception that I mentioned. There's the Tuna Wars trip itself. You can do that. There's ongoing promotions year-round that we want to encourage you to pay attention to. And I think, Dave, we'll make it a point to share that information with you more regularly than we probably have in the past. And you can let everybody know when it's time to get involved in something else. But the one thing I will tell you, when we put together a promotion, it's usually something that's very worthwhile. You have very good odds of winning, and what you do win is worth winning. So I always say the same thing. The kids win with every single ticket that gets bought. So that's how I look at it. The winning tickets are nice for the people who win, but honestly, it's the kids that win, and they win every single time you buy a ticket. So I love that picture. That was on the Dana Pride, which we have taken countless trips on over the years. That's just a group of kids that got to get out on the boat for the very first time, and I'm sure that whoever those kids are today have memories of that particular day.
Yeah, my dad was a big part of this. My dad loved to give back and loved the whole idea of taking children and introducing them to the ocean. Gang, everything that Mike just talked about, and this tackle donation, I was going to touch on it a little bit. Look around in your house. Look in your garage. You guys have rods and reels that you've been hanging on to for 20, 30. You're never going to use them again. You're not. You just bought the new reel at the PCS show. You got the new rod at the PCS show. You're not using that stuff in your garage. You're not gonna put line on it. You're not gonna use it. clean it up a little bit, take it down there and donate it, gang. It's going to take a child fishing. It's huge. Every time you give a donation, you just got to close your eyes and look at this young man's face. Look at this. How excited is he? He won a reel. You think that he's going to remember spinning that wheel and winning a reel? Absolutely. And like Mike Lum said, gang, these children on the Dana Pride, I'll guarantee every one of those children will remember that trip, and they're going to talk to their kids about it. So when you're giving away a couple of bucks or you're giving away a rod and reel, you are changing a child's life who's going to go on to be an adult. That adult's going to take a kid fishing, and there's nothing more important, like I say all the time, than taking children fishing. It is so important. It is just so important.
You know something, Dave, that happens on a regular basis now is as some of the older generation are old enough that they're either moving out of state or they're just not fishing anymore. Lately, in the last couple of years, we've had enormous estates of long range tackle, of quality, high quality tackle, and the daughter calls or the son calls and says, "Hey, my dad wants us to give all of this to you guys. We just made a trip over to Las Vegas to pick up an entire pickup load full of tackle that will all be at the day at the dock sale." But if you have tackle, like Dave said, that's no longer being used, or if your parents used to fish and they don't use it anymore, of course there's some nostalgic things you want to hang on to, but at some point even those don't really have the meaning they once did. And I'll promise you, when we take that old Saber rod and we sell it for $50 or $75, that's one more kid that gets to go on a trip because that rod changed hands.
Absolutely. This is such an important organization, the whole thing. And like we talked, yeah, thank you, Elliot. Like Mike and I talked about in the beginning, Tim Baker, that guy, it's amazing he answers every call, gang, because you have no idea. After this show, he's going to get inundated with phone calls, but he gets inundated with phone calls every single day, and he answers all of you. And if he doesn't answer you, he'll call you right back because he's talking to somebody else. That's the only reason why he doesn't answer you, because he understands, just like Mike, just like I do, that every single phone call, every single penny, every single rod, everything matters. Look at this. And Jeanette, no, it's every landing up and down the coast. Mike, what are the landings that you go out of? I know Dana Point. I know Fisherman's Landing. I know Mission Bay. I know. What about?
No, you
LA?
literally, you couldn't name a landing that we won't take kids out of. We go all the way up to San Francisco for a couple trips a year. But all the landings that you guys fish out of, as long as they've got a half-day boat available, we will use it to take kids if that's where they're located. We want to make this as friendly and as easy as we can for these groups. And quite often when I talk to a new group, the question I get is, okay, what's the catch? Well, there is no catch. We're going to pay for the whole thing. That's it. I know it sounds crazy, but that's how this thing works. We don't actually take kids fishing. We pay so that the kids can go fishing with their own group. And we've got a couple school teachers that are just so important to us. We have many school teachers, but two in particular I'm thinking of. Chris Stanley and his wife. They have been taking kids. Chris takes the kids. I think he's in his 19th year now of taking his class on fishing trips, and now it's become so much a part of his school. He'll take them for other classes that the teacher really doesn't want to, he can't or has no interest in taking them, but Chris will fill in for them. But he doesn't just take them fishing. He makes it a year-long project. They only get to go on the trip if they behave, if they get good grades, if they do their homework. He uses it as leverage. And he told me that 2 years before, kids in second grade are going, "Mr. Stanley, when I get to be in your class, I'll get to go fishing." I mean, it's 2 years ahead of time. So it's just so important. But he couldn't do that if we didn't have the money to pay for the trip. So it all comes back, just like the CCA, it all comes back to fundraising.
And I don't want to think that this year somebody sends Mike or Tim a request to take their group, their church group, their school group, their Boy Scout, Cub Scout, whatever it is, fishing, and Mike has to say no. or Tim Baker has to say, no, we don't have the funds this year. I'm sorry, we can only take X amount. We don't want to say no. And you probably, Mike, you don't emphasize it enough, but there's not a lot of no in you.
It's one of the challenges I face in life, Dave. There's so many things that need help. I really do struggle to say no. It's not in me to say no. Sometimes I just find myself overwhelmed because I bite off more than I can hardly chew. But I just can't walk away from some of these issues that are so important. Chris and Charlene Stanley, the school teachers, they don't just live this by applying for grants. You will see them regularly at events we do. They'll be at Day at the Docks. They'll be at Tackle Day down at Fisherman's Landing. They'll be at, they were at the PCS show. They put every ounce they can into helping us raise money because they know that money is going to go back to help them take more kids fishing. It really is a group effort. And I encourage anybody that if you've got a grant, a trust, a family trust, if you make annual donations just for the purpose of, every year you pledge X amount of dollars, please remember the Captain Rolla Kids at Sea. It's all tax deductible. And please also consider CCA in the same exact breath. One is not more important than other. They're two completely different purposes. Both are equally important in my eye.
Absolutely. You couldn't say it better. And Tim has no in him. Between Mike and Tim, I don't even think the two of them can spell no, let alone say no. They just constantly are giving back. And the give back is incredible, gang. And the only thing they get out of this is the joy they see on the children's faces when they get to take them fishing. And Mike and Tim both understand we're under an enormous amount of pressure here in California to stop fishing, period. And this new thing they kind of put a blanket on it last year, but I told everybody they're just laying it down to take a nap. They're bringing it back, and they're bringing it back hard. And here we are again at 30 for 30, or 30 by 30. 30 by 30 means by the year 2030, they're going to close down another 30% of the California coastline to fishing. They already got 18%. They did with the wave of a wand with zero science. They shut down 18%. They're going to add another 30 to that. But gang, those of you that are listening that, well, I only fish fresh water and I don't understand. And they're coming for you guys this time. They're coming for the freshwater big time. Some of your favorite lakes, some of your favorite streams are going to be no longer being able to be fished because no science, but because it's all about control. Whether you want to believe it or not, it has nothing to do with fish populations. It has nothing to do with stream population or lake population. It's all about control. And gang, too many of you grew up fishing on streams or going to the Bard Hall show or going to the PCS show and dropping a line in that tank with the trout swimming around. Fresh water for a lot of us was the only thing available. So anything they close in California, it's devastating to us as fishermen. So please, please, please get involved with CCA because it's the only voice we have at the table, gang. And if you haven't read into this 30 by 30 thing that's coming down the pipe, it ought to scare the living bejesus out of you because like Todd Manser said on stage at the PCS show, they get this 30-30 done on the 2030. Guess what the next thing is? 50-50. And then 100-100. They're coming. They want it so bad. Another thing that blows my mind, they want to get rid of lead. Where does lead come from? Mother Earth. It's so crazy, gang. They want to get rid of I guess, I don't know. I guess you just got to, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me, Mike. I just don't understand why we are so hated. Why fishermen are just so hated.
Sure, Dave. I'm not so sure it's a hatred. It's an ignorance that they've never been exposed to it. They don't understand it. There's some stereotypes that they probably have listened to most of their lives, and they kind of buy into them. But the fact of the matter is, we are the true conservationists. We are the ones that our money has been funding the fish and wildlife populations in this country for over 100 years. And most people, even those that are listening, may not realize that. But as long as you've been alive and as long as you've been fishing, 10% of everything you've ever bought in the world of fishing or hunting or firearms or ammunition carries with it a 10% excise tax that's paid by the manufacturers directly to the federal government. You've been paying it your whole life. And that money is dedicated to come back to the well-being of fish and wildlife habitat and access. And that's how that's been for a very long time. If it weren't for the sportsmen in this country, we probably would have no turkeys. We'd have no wild turkeys. We'd have very few ducks, if any. We'd have no white-tailed deer. We'd have no elk. We'd have nothing, because it was our money through those excise taxes and through our purchases of licensing that enabled the habitat to be set aside and restored. And I don't know, I doubt very seriously if there's a proposition that says if you're going to be a wildlife observer, you're going to have to buy a license and you're going to have to pay excise tax on your binoculars. That doesn't exist. We're paying the bills. We are the only reason that wildlife and fish stocks are where they are, and yet nobody knows it. Very few people know it, and we're the enemy. So
yeah, I talked about that at my seminar, Mike, at the PCS show, about the artificial reef system. That money directly came from us.
That's right.
That money was taken from us and given to us by building the artificial reefs. Those artificial reefs are teeming with fish up and down the California coast. Those were built with our money. So if you decide to get rid of all of us, you're not going to be able to build all these great structures. You're not going to be able to have the white tails. You're not going to be able to have the population of deer. And
look at it this way, Dave. We've got a couple 150 to 200 charterable type fishing boats up and down our coastline, somewhere in that ballpark. If they were all out of business, which they would be if this all took place, they'd be gone. There'd be no reason to have them. Then the people who wanted to go out whale watching, what would they go on? Because those boats, that landing wouldn't be there anymore. So if they allow us to be taken completely off the water for one of these various reasons, whether it's an emission standard that gets us off the water, whether it's fishing regulations that restrict us to the point where people can't stay in business, those non-fishermen aren't going to go out on the ocean either, because that infrastructure will no longer be there. Kind of like the freshwater guy that says, I don't need to support CCA. I only fish in freshwater. Well, the tackle store that you like to buy your tackle at, they're not going to be there, because if you remove fishing from the saltwater fishing from the equation, they can't be there. And it's going to have an effect where at some point they're going to go, well, I wish I would have realized that. Well, just think about it. You can't have a freshwater fishing industry in California without a saltwater fishing industry. The manufacturers couldn't survive it. The stores couldn't survive it. The landings certainly can't survive it. So we do need to have a broader view of all this, and we are the ones on the water, and we are the eyes and ears. If they want to pass a regulation that makes sense, who's going to keep an eye on it, really? It's not going to be the guy that helped pass the law, because he's never on the water. It's us. We're out there every single day. We know when people are in closed areas. We know when people are breaking the rules. We know when a guy is over limiting when we sit right next to him and watch him do it. There's nobody there to stop him from doing that. And if we're off the water, then no one's going to know. So,
yeah, you're absolutely right. It's such an uphill battle for people like Mike and myself and the rest of you that are watching. And it all comes down, and I'm sorry what we're going to say, we're going to wrap the show up with this. It all comes down to who you vote for, gang, whether you want to believe it or not. I'm sorry. There's one side that's on a mission to close everything, and there's another side that's on a mission for your freedom. You can figure out which side that is. I'm not the guy that's going to tell you. It's real easy to figure out. Mike, I want to thank you so much for your time. We went a little bit over. I promised you an hour. We went a little bit over. We have so much to talk about. We're going to bring you back on the show. This isn't the last time people get to talk to you. But, gang, get involved with CCA. Get involved with Rollo's Kids at Sea. Mike's going to give you the numbers. Mike's going to do it one more time before we sign off.
951-264-7382. You can get raffle tickets at that number. You can get signed up for Tuna Wars at that number. You can tell us you got tackle you want to donate and need to make arrangements to drop off at that number. Anything you need, you can get at that number, 951-264-7382. And that will be answered by Tim Baker, and he will get you anything you need. And if you're available on April 7th to come down to Day at the Docks down in San Diego, come down and see us and buy a raffle ticket. We're going to give all those great prizes away that afternoon, and we'll have plenty of used tackle to buy. And there's usually some very, very nice stuff and some great deals. So we like to sell it and turn it into money. We don't want to collect it.
Yeah, that's for sure. Thank you, Mike. Everybody get involved. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a great show. Tomorrow's Akuma Wednesday. We'll be talking about how great the show was. Hopefully we can get John or Dave on the show tomorrow. And then on Thursday, we got Kelly Girl back on the show. She was blown away. I've tried to tell her for a long time how much you all love when she's on the show, but now she understands it. She probably had 1,000 people tell her she needs to be on this show more. So I think you guys are making a difference. And then I don't know if you saw what happened to our good friend Dan Hernandez, but someone broke into his storage locker and stole all of his youth stuff, all the rods, all the reels, so much youth tackle. We're bringing Dan Hernandez on the show on Friday because we need to keep kids fishing, and we need to help Dan out too, because he's a huge integral part of taking children fishing. So make sure you check out our show on Friday also. Mike Lum, thank you so much for your time. Everybody have a great day, and we'll talk